with everything else, what the village is going to try to do is facilitate the implementation of this infrastructure. If we can find groups of neighbors that want to do it, we can help get in contact with the utility and put groups together and figure out how to get this done. And I really think, look, there's 2 million people in Miami-Dade County and only 100,000 users of natural gas. It's got to be a tremendous market for those guys to tap into, which kind of is interesting there. Okay, so one thing we want to talk about to wrap up, really how we get to pay for all this stuff. And this kind of dovetails with how we deal with the water lines. Again, none of this stuff, none of this infrastructure is owned, managed, regulated necessarily by the village of Pinecrest. So we have to deal with our partners. So we have Miami-Dade County here, Pierre Jean-Baptiste, who is going to talk about special taxing districts, because these are the ways that individual neighborhoods or the entire village can start to fund these projects like water. Sir, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pierre Jean-Baptiste, and I'm with Miami-Dade County. In fact, this is the perfect opportunity for me to discuss with you the special tax, because the gas line that you would want to put in your neighborhood, in order to do it like the mayor said, you'd have to create a special taxing district. What it does is, its purpose is, assuming, for instance, there are 24 homes, for instance, that want the gas line. If you were to, by yourself, trying to collect the money from them, chances are there's one or two you may not pay on time. So what the taxing district does is, it creates a mechanism to which the taxes is added to your yearly taxes. So instead of having to go and collect money individually, when each resident paid their taxes along the itemized items, you would see the special taxing in there.
Just like we see it for other services.
Exactly, for other services like, well, FPL is not included. Like you see your school board, other stuff, the special taxing would be one of them. And the process for creating one, in fact, we have one here which I thought I was going to be talking about. But we have one. The process for creating one is pretty much, assume since you were the one who was talking about it, what you may have to do is submit a petition to Miami-Dade County to create this taxing district. From there, we'll get an estimate from, most likely, her, since she's the one who will be doing it. We'll get an estimate from her. We'll determine what the cost, what the yearly cost will be to you. Then we'll write an official petition that will be given to you. Throughout the whole process, Miami-Dade is not involved because we try to remain neutral. That way, no one says that we force either for or against, or persuade or dissuade the residents to create the taxing district. So we stay away from it. Whoever's spearheading the project would take the petition and gather signatures from a majority of the residents requesting the service. If we have met like 50% of the signatures of the residents, then the project moves forward. Less than 50%, then it stops, and you'd have to wait at least 2 years before you can resubmit the new petition. But if you do meet the 50% requirement, then it moves forward. It goes before the board for a hearing. And because this is a village, correct?
Yes, sir.
We have to enter into a local agreement, an interlocal agreement with the city of Pinecrest, or the village of Pinecrest, to create what we call a special taxing district. And then it goes to an election, and if the election passes, then I don't know how long it would take to install the pipelines, and it goes from there. And then you would have the services provided to you.
Wait a minute. This woman here has a gas line panel block for her house. So it's there.
Uh-huh.
So if she pays somebody to hook her up, this $4,000, and she pays the gas company for the gas, that's already all set up. What?
If you were to do it on your own, I don't think you need to go through the special taxing to do it.
You're saying if we want to...
Exactly. But assuming, exactly, if you want, like, let's say for instance, you want every single home within your block to do it, and collectively, yes, you'd have to go through a special tax. And there are some services, we've done one gas line project before, and it was a whole community. We've never done a project where it's in a single home. Yeah, everything we've done has been like a whole community, you know, like a square mile or whatever. In this case, yes, you may be able to go straight to her and get it done, but if you want the whole community to do it, then yes, you have to do a special tax.
This financing mechanism allows for like a pool of neighbors to, let's say they want to do a gas line, let's say they want to put street lights on their block, if they want to bury the underground electric, if they want to, there's various different options. It just allows for financing for a group of neighbors to work together through the process.
Because that's what that tax is? This provides the funding for this?
Exactly. As opposed to you collecting individually, again, there have been problems where one person, in fact, we're somewhat working on a similar project right now, where a guy has to go and collect money every month, and there has been 2 houses that haven't paid in a while. So he wants to create a taxing district in order that, again, those 2 individuals cannot not pay their taxes or their portion of the project.
And let me just specify, these are, again, because these aren't utilities that are controlled by the village, and they're not going to be used village-wide. If they were village-wide things, we would go through, we would finance it ourselves, and our village taxes would go up. For water, for instance, when there's 700 homes that don't have water and haven't paid for it, and about 5,500, 5,300 that have paid for it, you can't tax the entire village for that, so you set up a little district. Or if an individual street wanted to underground electricity, they could do it that way. Or again, for individual pockets that wanted to set up for underground gas, or even guard gates or those types of things. So I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yes, sir.
Has there been any discussion about saltwater intrusion really ruining wells, domestic wells, and how that's really to be proactive and try and have solutions before that becomes?
Yes, we're focused on that. We're actually, and Mark will explain in greater detail, but we're going through well water testing, where we've set up a number of testing sites around the community, and we hope to have those to test for not only the salt water, but for other chemicals that may be in the wells. And Mark, you want to explain a little bit?
You summarized it well. We've done a little bit of background research. There's a number of USGS wells that are in the village now. We have the data from those wells, and there is a potential that there is saltwater intrusion in some of our potable wells. So we're doing some additional well testing. That's going to be happening over the next couple of months, and we're going to be giving an update on whatever data we have at our June 5th meeting, which is another community meeting just for water.
And our hope is that, like when we were just discussing the Sunnyland issue years ago, where the dry cleaner had its spill, and my understanding of that is the state and the county will come in and mitigate those problems the best way they can, the most efficient way they can. Large groups, they'll install the water lines, get us in problems. Smaller groups, sometimes they give filters.
Would you think they would mitigate the cost of salt or of putting running water lines if there were saltwater intrusion in people's wells?
That is our hope that they would do that, but we've been working with them on this issue for a long time, a decade or more. Just recently, a concerted effort with the mayor of the county, and he came back and he just said he can't help us. This is something that they would have to do. If they did it for us, they would have to do it for everybody, and therefore they can do it for nobody, because essentially the rules, Franklin, you may be able to tell us a little bit more about the rules on this, but unless they got to come up with a new mechanism by which to charge people, because the existing customers would end up having to pay for this. So what I think he said they were doing, and you can check me on this, is coming up with potentially a new bond to take care of those approximately 5,000 potential customers that are in the Pinecrest situation that don't have access to potable water. And that new bond would protect the current ratepayers and then get the others water. And that seemed imminent within the next couple of years, but I don't know. You're welcome. Anything else?
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
So if we had let's just say we had 2 or 3 city blocks that were interested in getting gas in,
Mhm.
how would we contact you and what would be the process to form a special taxing district?
I have my part. Again, the process is, assuming for instance, those 2 blocks, you have, let's say 20 homes. To get the process started, you need 10%. So you would get, out of 10%, you go 2. So you get 2 of those 2 houses to sign the petition requesting the, whatever service you're requesting. Again, once we have received it, we'll do a cost estimate and we'll send you an official petition, which includes how much it would cost and so on and so forth. Once we have sent you the official petition, usually we'll give you 4 months, and in some cases, we have extensions. So you have 4 months to gather more signatures. Again, in this case, you will need at least 50% of those 20 homes to get the process going. And if you have received 50%, you will send the petition back to us, and we'll write a report to the BCC so that it goes before a hearing. And in the meantime, we have to get a resolution from the village allowing us to
Do that.
exactly to do the special taxing. Once everything has gone through, if the board approves the creation of the taxing district, what we do is we send you a what we call a special election ballot, which is every single registered voter within those 20 homes will receive a ballot. And if, again, 50% plus 1, a majority votes for it, then the district will be created and we'll start the process of installing whatever service that you're requesting. In this case, maybe the gas line.
But we'd like to see how far Pinecrest can take us before we try to do it on our own.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to the nitty gritty of, you know, how bad people want it.
Exactly. And, well, again, in some cases, in fact, we're dealing with one right now, so it's very contentious. So, you know, one person wants it, another doesn't want it. I've seen neighbors go against each other, so
Yeah, it's not
it
working.
depends, yes.
I have a quick question. Once you get contacted to go ahead and do the,
Cost estimate.
yes, how long does the whole process, just on the average, it depends on the complexity of, normally, how long does it take?
Usually
A
it
year?
takes like 9 months.
9 months?
Yes.
It's fairly quick.
Again, it depends on how contentious it is. Yeah, exactly. In some cases, we have to extend because one person is for it and against it, and, they have like community meetings, and we'll have to give like an extension to gather the signatures and so, but on a normal basis, usually 9 months.
And depending on the type of project, is the county responsible for putting together cost estimate, or who puts together
We-
cost estimate?
We do.
So you do?
Yeah. For instance, assuming you were to do the gas project, I would contact her, get an estimate from her, and then I would use that as a basis to start the whole cost estimate for everything else, including, county services and engineering, so on and so forth. Yes, sir.
I think there's probably interest in our block from doing gas and probably considering doing, burying the lines underground.
And that's what I have right now.
Do we wait for the city of Pinecrest to come with?
Are you talking water?
No, we already did
Larry,
water. Our
So you're
community
talking
already did water.
gas?
Gas line, and which, we would love to have, but I'm pretty sure our neighborhood's fed up with losing our power. We're the first to lose it and the last to get it back.
So you're also thinking about undergrounding electricity?
We're thinking about it.
Okay, so we can help facilitate the conversations on each of those things. So if you want, contact me or Mark
All right, so just
or Angela, and we'll,
call the city.
call the city, and we'll
If you-
start to facilitate those.
If you call the Public Works Department, I'm happy to announce the number if you want, otherwise you can go to our website and get it. We're happy to help you with that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Follow up to that, because realistic here, about how long that would take?
Which
To go
one?
through the village special taxation, this district or process, how much time are we talking about? 2
Well,
years?
He said he could set up the special taxing district in about 9 months.
Exactly.
But
We can-
9 months, but you have to get the signatures, the neighbors, the voting, right?
Right,
That
9 months
includes-
only gets you to complete the mechanism, then you have to actually construct the improvement, right?
And
So
then, right.
It could be a couple of years or so, I mean, it's
So we're
gonna
talking
take
about,
time.
what, 3 years, 5
When
years?
when we looked at the undergrounding citywide, it could have taken us a decade to do, right? But
Right, but
that's
me.
Yeah, that's a big.
100 miles worth of
Right.
road. And we're talking, depending on how big the project is, a few streets, significantly shorter. I would bet you a couple of years. I mean, you can design it, you've got to build it. It comes in phases. Our water line projects before took a couple of years, so I'd imagine
Like 5?
5 total. But we built I think we knocked off half of the remaining city at that point.
5 years. Where do you live?
Well, it depends.
Maybe we should.
You got to look at each project individually.
I'm
We
just
can,
considering moving to his neighborhood, so we get it faster. Let's start moving.
may not be a bad idea.
Yes.
To learn more about this, what do we do? Is there a website or do we call?
Well, I have my card, I can give you my card, and then you can contact me. And
We also
in fact, what I
show
told
taxes.
Anything else? Thank you all very much for coming.